Hi everyone, Shaked Bartal is here, ladies and gentlemen. Yours and mine and everyone else, Carolina Panthers finish the 2018 season with a record of 7-9. And ladies and gentlemen, right now is December 30th, 2018 when I'm recording this video, and it's about 6 o'clock in the evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, the Panthers finished the regular season with a record of 7-9. And let's break down why they finished the season with a 7-9 record, because in one part, ladies and gentlemen, throughout 8 games, the Panthers record was 6-2. Coming to the season, when the schedule was released back in April, my prediction was Carolina Panthers will finish the regular season with an 11-5 record. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to training camp. And I'm holding with me, ladies and gentlemen, the roster for the Carolina Panthers from FanFest 2018. And for the FanFest 2018, I did mark down some players, key players, who in my opinions had a bad season or had an injury in training camp that resulted in the Carolina Panthers not being able to have as great of a season as they really could have. So let's start off. One of them, he wasn't injured, but in my opinion, he played a factor in why the Panthers finished 7-9. I'm talking about cornerback Con Elder. I'm talking about kicker Graham Gano. I'm talking about cornerback Captain Malaman. I'm talking about right guard Daryl Williams, left guard Amini Sulutulu, right tackle Matt Khalil, Mike Adams, safety. Not confused with Matt Adams, the baseball player, but this is Mike Adams, the safety. Devin Funches, wide receiver. Julius Peppers, defensive end. Also, I'm talking about Dentari Poe, defensive tackle K1 Short, and cornerback Kieran Seymour. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure some of you might say, Shaked, why are you mentioning these players? I mean, some of them did not play. A lot of them did not play. So why are you mentioning them? And the reason I'm mentioning them, ladies and gentlemen, when you go into training camp, you have 90 players. When you finish training camp, you cut the roster to 53 players. On active day, there's only 46 players who are available to play. Now, if you're already missing key players due to injuries, such as Daryl Williams, Kieran Seymour, well, I'm sure some might say, how can you say Kieran Seymour or Ross Cockrell or Dion Celsi, who missed a large portion of the season due to concussion? Or how can you mention Torrey Smith, who sure was healthy for some part of the season, but it really wasn't a factor. And the end result, ladies and gentlemen, when you are missing players due to injuries, you are basically forcing your second team, your third team players to come in. And unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, sometimes the second team player, the third team players, they're not good enough. That is why you want to avoid injuries to key players as much as possible. I'm pretty sure, and I venture to say, that had Ross Cockrell not suffered an injury in the preseason game against New England, then the end result would have been Ross Cockrell starting as second cornerback. Dante Jackson would have been the third cornerback. Captain Mulliman would have been the fourth cornerback. But because Ross Cockrell suffered an injury, Kieran Seymour suffered an injury, the Panthers were short on cornerback. So you had Captain Mulliman step into starting lineup. And I mean, we all saw how he got beat in a couple of games, especially last week, week 16 against Atlanta at home. So when you lose players at training camp, in preseason, due to injuries, it has a rippling effect throughout the season. Now, with that all said, the defense, ladies and gentlemen, was really bad this season. K1 Short was healthy. Dentari Poe, they were healthy. Werner Butler, they were healthy. Wes Orton, he was healthy. Mario Addison, he was healthy. Julius Pepper, he was healthy for most part of the season. Efe Banda, he was healthy. And the point is, Brian Cox, even Brian Cox Jr., he was healthy. Marcus Hayes, he was healthy. The point, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm trying to make, the reason why the defense was so bad, sure, you had injuries, but it had more to do, ladies and gentlemen, with the play calling and not being able to get consistent pressure on the quarterback. And even when the Carolina Panthers had a record of 6-2, even when they were winning, we still had problem with the defense. They couldn't get pressure on the quarterback. Take, for example, the game that the Carolina Panthers won, Week 5, against the New York Giants. Against Eli Manning. Too many times, the defense allowed him time to find someone open. Or take the Cincinnati game again. Andy Dalton, too many times he had in the pocket, and I can go so on and on. The defense this season gave up way too many points. The sacks numbers were down. The turnovers were down. Combine that, ladies and gentlemen, with the poor time management, poor execution, and you have a result of a team that is not good enough. And it's extremely frustrating, ladies and gentlemen, for me to sit here and to tell you this team underachieved. This team wasn't good enough. This team, instead of previewing a playoff game next week, we have to talk about what coming up in the off-season, whether Ron Rivera will be back, whether Marty Ernie will be back, whether Eric Washington will be back. But instead of talking about playoff, we're talking about coaching staff move, roster personnel moves. And part of it has to do with effort Yes, I say effort. Ladies and gentlemen, at times, at too many times, the effort wasn't what it needed to be. I mean, let's be brutal honest. You gave up 45 points to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sure, they're a great team. Sure, you only had 4 days to prepare because you were coming off a Sunday night, a Sunday afternoon home game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I get that. But to give up 45 points on the road when at times the field position for the opponent wasn't great enough, wasn't good enough, my friends, that is lack of effort. That is totally unacceptable. And again, it has to go to the pass rush. Not getting the job done. The linebackers, as a group, they had a down season. And I'm not going to mention anyone in particular. But as a group, the linebackers had a down year. And then, week 9, Cam Newton took a hit to the shoulder, his throwing shoulder. Once he released the ball by TJ Watt, whether it was a clean hit or not, that is not my decision to make. I'm not an officiate in the NFL. I don't work in the commissioner office in New York. But regardless whether it was a clean hit or not, from that point forward, the season for the Carolina Panthers was over. Because up to that point, the offense carried the team. Had it not been for Cam Newton, had it not been for Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Cody Samuel, and at times Devin Funchess, Demir Baird when he was healthy, Greg Olsen when he was healthy. This team, coming to the Pittsburgh game, would have had a record of 1-8. The one win I gave to the defense was week 1 at home against the Dallas Cowboys. And the reason why the Panthers won that game, sure, they played great, no question about it. But in large part, Dallas in that game was one-dimensional. They didn't have Amari Cooper. They didn't have good receiving group to surround quarterback Dak Prescott. They had an outstanding running back, which they still do, in Ezekiel Elliott. But ladies and gentlemen, when you are one-dimensional, it's very, very easy to stop. Much more easy than when you have a pretty good balance on offense. Dallas, in that game, week 1, they didn't have balance on offense, let's be honest. But still, the Panthers' defense was great in that game. They did a pretty good job of holding Ezekiel Elliott to less than 80 total rushing yards. So the defense played great. But then week 2, against a team with a balanced out offense in Atlanta, the defense was pretty bad. The tackle was unacceptable. The Falcons ran all over the field on the Panthers' defense. And I don't want to blame injuries, because injuries weren't a factor in that game. Lack of effort, lack of execution, lack of play calling was a factor. Week 3 again, Carolina won that game against Cincinnati. But at times, the defense couldn't get a stop when they needed. And one thing that I will remember about the 2018 Carolina Panthers defense is that they didn't have the ability to get a stop when they really need it. You want to look back into last season? Previous year, 2017 season, the defense wasn't great, ladies and gentlemen. The offense wasn't great for the Panthers, yet they won 11 games, yet they made it to the playoff as a wild card team. The reason that they made the playoff as a wild card team and won 11 games is because whenever they needed, they were able to get a stop on defense, either get a stop or get a turnover. And that wasn't the case in this season. Too many times they gave up a big play when they desperately need to get a stop. A lot of times it was a passing down situation, 3rd and 8 plus. They couldn't get a stop. So that is one big reason why the Panthers finished the season 7-9. And another big part of the reason why the Panthers finished the regular season 7-9 is because they lost games. They lost a lot of games, 7 points or less. In the NFL, your margin of error is very slim. If you cannot win the close game, you're not going to win. And you're not going to win many games in the NFL. I mean, take a look at the Washington Redskins game. Panthers lost that game by 6 points on the road. Take a look at the Cleveland Browns game. Again, they lost it by 6. Take a look at the Detroit Lions game. They lost that game by 2 points. Take a look, ladies and gentlemen, at other games. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, again, they lost it by 7 points. The Atlanta Falcons game, week 2, as bad as the defense played, they lost that game by 2 points. Take a look at the game against the New Orleans Saints, Monday Night Football. The Panthers lost that game by 6 points. You win 3 of these 6 games, and all of a sudden, you're looking at a playoff team. You're looking at 10-win team. So, the Panthers, sure, they can say we had injuries, and I get that. But honestly, they have to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves the following. Have we given all we could and all we had this season? And if the answer is not, then I'm sorry. If you respond and say, I didn't give it all I got, then you shouldn't be on this team. Because at the end of the day, we don't like losing. No one likes losing. But you know what we really don't like? Is lack of effort, lack of trying. It's okay to lose when you play hard. It's okay to lose when you give all you got. It's not okay to lose when you don't put up a good fight, a good effort. So, sure, the Panthers had a bright spot. Christian McCaffrey had an MVP type of a season. Cam Newton, before he suffered a shoulder injury, he had an outstanding MVP Collinville type of a season. DJ Moore, the rookie, he showed great flashes. And he's going to be a great wideout. Cody Samuel, when he was healthy, after he missed a couple of games to begin the season because of a problem with his heart, which I believe is now corrected, thanks God, he had a pretty good season. Ian Thomas, the rookie tight end, he had a pretty good breakout season. And the defense, Dante Jackson, the rookie cornerback, overall, he had a pretty good season. Sure, his 3 interception beginning of the season, then not having an interception unless you count the 2-point conversion against the Saints to returning to the house for pick 6. It doesn't count in the stat as an interception. But the thing about Dante Jackson, Ed, is spread out in his interception, which it's impossible to do, obviously. Then people would have said he had an outstanding season. But because beginning of the season, he had 3 interceptions, then the remaining of the season, he had 0 interceptions, and people would say, oh, he didn't have a good season. But you are wrong. Interception doesn't tell everything. And in my opinion, he had a pretty good season. Likewise for James Bradbury. Sure, at times he gave up big plays. At other times, he did a good job. The Panthers have 2 pretty good cornerbacks, Dante Jackson, James Bradbury. Eric Reed, the free agent signee. He had a pretty good season for the Panthers. Not a Pro Bowl type of a season, but a pretty good season overall. Mario Addison, he was one of the bright spots when it comes to pass rusher. Finished the season with 8 sacks. So he had a good season. Michael Palardi, the punter, he had a good season. Demir Baird, when he was healthy, before he suffered his injury, he had a good season. The rookie quarterback, Tyler Aniki, Kyle Allen, as we saw today, they both had good season. So yes, there was some bright spot. Tyler Moten, the offensive line, man, he had a good season. Tyler Larson, he had a good season. The linebackers, Shaq Thompson, Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, they had a decent season. Not great as we have used to seeing, but not a very bad season either. So, decent season. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, when you put it together, it just wasn't good enough. But because we have so many things to look forward on offense, if the Carolina Panthers can make some moves, which I anticipate they will, and defense, maybe make some coaching change, they can bounce back very quickly next season. And I will have another video, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully much shorter than that, once officially decision regarding Ron Rivera, Eric Washington, Marty Orney is made. I will give you my take, and I will keep you updated on off-season moves, free agency, and so on for the Carolina Panthers. As always, your comments and suggestions are welcome. You can follow me on Twitter at SportsGuyShow, or you can leave a comment right here below. So yeah, it wasn't a season, but we always say keep pounding, keep your head up. We will be bounced back next season. And God willing, we will win Super Bowl 54 in Miami. So make that a pledge, and we are going to make that happen in 2019. Shaked Bartal is signing off.